battles. This is how I fight my 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 battles. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. This is how I fight my battles. 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 It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you.
Welcome to Virtual Church TV. This is the Virtual Church TV show, and we're going to be having a very, very special topic today. It's a little bit different than usual. Normally, we're just talking about, trusting God, and we're talking about personal empowerment. But this week, we're going to be talking about trusting God and personal empowerment, but from a very different perspective. We're going to be talking about 3 reasons why you should write a book. 3 reasons why you should write a book. A lot of people, just in conversations with them, they've spoken to me and have shared with me that they'd like to write a book one day. There are a few people that don't want to write a book, and I guess that you may not be interested in this video if you're that kind of person. But if you do have an interest in writing a book, we're going to be talking today about 3 reasons why you should write a book. So many people have said to me that they would like to write a book one day, that they're interested in writing a book, but there are some who have already started. There are some who don't know where to start, and there are some who are overwhelmed and haven't even created a plan about what they're going to write or anything like that. So today we're going to be talking about 3 reasons why you should write a book, and hopefully this will clarify some issues for you. The other thing I'm going to say is that if you do have any questions or if you do have any thoughts on the subject matter, you can feel free to ask them in the live broadcast here, or you can feel free, if it's in the replay, to ask some questions in our comment section. I'll try my best to answer your questions. For myself, I have written a few books. I do have a new book that I have out called The 5 Benefits of Worship, and you can get a copy of that from NevilleSolomon.com if you like. And also just check out NevilleSolomon.com. You'll learn a little bit more about Virtual Church TV and a little bit more about myself. But as we're relating to our topic today, we're just talking about 3 reasons why you should write a book. Books are very, very powerful. Sometimes we take them for granted. But the thing that's beautiful about a book is that if a person gives a speech, especially if you are just listening to them talk or you're listening to somebody teaching or something like that, if you just listen to them and you take no notes, you may miss some of the information that they shared with you. If you are in a live, audience and you're taking notes, or you're watching a tape and you're taking notes, as a person speaking, sometimes you miss some of the things that they said. So you might miss out some of the information just by taking notes. But when you have the notes, at least you have an idea of what's been said. But then the problem comes is, where do you keep the notes? So you have your notes, you can't find them, so you can't really recall what happened in that speech. Even if you can recall the notes, you don't get the whole speech, because as you're taking notes, you're not completely listening to what the person's saying. So taking notes are great, and listening to teaching is great. But one of the greatest ways of learning is to have a book, because if you have a book and you have the opportunity to read the book, you can highlight it, you can look it over, but you don't really miss anything, because the book is a complete idea of the author before you. So if you're a speaker, a teacher, or somebody who likes to communicate with others and wants to add value to other people, writing a book is an excellent idea. First and foremost, because writing a book gives people your complete thought. I'm just sharing some foundations of why you should write a book. But there are many, many different reasons why you should write a book. But some of the foundations is that you can give people your complete thoughts, or at least the thought that you desire to give them, around whatever topic it is. I know there's different kinds of writing. You have nonfiction, you have fiction writing. Nonfiction is writing that's more realistic per se, and fiction writing is more stories and fantasy. And it can come in many different genres, both of them. But whatever you decide to write, the reason why you're writing is that you want to impact and you want to influence other people. So there are a lot of different reasons why people want to write or why people should write. But what I want to do tonight is I want to answer some of those questions that people may have, either overtly as you're sitting down trying to write a book. What are some of the thoughts that you have that you need to deal with? And then some of them are thoughts that you're not thinking about, but as you go through the writing process and as you go through putting a book together, these thoughts will become thoughts that come to you as a writer. I've written many books, but my newest book is 5 Benefits of Worship, and I published my first book in 2007. And that was called An Invitation to a New Reality: Life Lessons for Great Women in the Bible. So just talking about taking women's lives from the scriptures and just showing some principles about how you can apply those strong characteristics to your own personal life. So for me, the two books are very, very distinct. The first book I wrote in 2007, and I wrote with a large print run, because that's really what they had before. They didn't have too many print on demand like they have today. And I'll explain more about what those things are as we go on. So my first book, I printed 2,000 copies of the book. And selling books can be challenging. I think that when you get over 1,000 books or you get 2,000, 5,000 books, unless you have, a really huge influence, it can put pressure on you. So today, publishing is much different than it was in 2007. Publishing today, you can do print on demand and you can just get smaller amounts of books and sell them. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but it's much, much less pressure in terms of just producing books. So my first book, it was challenging, but it was a success because I sold over 1,000 books. So it was a success, but you do remember that I said I ordered 2,000. So I had quite a few books left over that I'm still selling, I'm still using. But in terms of the overall experience, it was a good experience. But my new book that I have now, it's a very different experience. I want to sell it, and selling it is very important, but it's a very different drive. Before, I was trying to sell it, my first book, to pay off my credit card. With the book that I have now, I'm trying to sell it to influence people and to encourage people, because I think that it is a book that has some power, especially if you're a Christian. It's a book that will really help you as it relates to worship. So I'm going to answer the subject matter that we have here: 3 reasons why you should write a book. I'm going to answer that. But just before I answer that, I was going to just have a little time of worship. But I just wanted to encourage you and to thank you for just being here. And we're going to get a little bit more into the subject matter right after this break. God bless.
I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. Nothing is as strong as your love. Nothing is as strong as your love. This is how I fight my battles. 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 Fight my battles. It may look like I'm surrounded by you. I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded. I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you.
Yes, God bless. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. We have some questions here. I'm just going to check them out. Georgina, she just shared and said that one's biggest challenge is fear, and I think that's the truth. The number one thing that I think stops people from writing books and stops people from doing a lot of things in life is fear. Some of the fears are irrational fears. Like some people have fears that they're going to be embarrassed, or they're not going to be able to get it done, or that they don't have the ability to write a book. And at the end of the day, everybody has the ability to write a book, but there is a process that you need to go through. And the more mentoring you have, and the more people you have to help you, then the process becomes much more easier. I think the biggest challenge when it comes to books is that people try to go it alone. They have an assumption that they already know how to write a book, and they don't really take time out to talk with other people and to learn from other people's mistakes. I know there's a lot of people that are out there that are selling programs and selling you know, book apps and so forth and things like that, like selling things to help you to write a book. And in fairness, I think a lot of them are really, really good. But if you don't have the money for it, I don't think you necessarily need it, because you can just buy books and you can learn from books, or you can just watch videos like we're having today, and we can just have a discussion and you can learn from that. And I'm pretty open to talking with people and to sharing some thoughts with people. And I'm not looking to charge anybody. I'm not looking for anyone to join my program per se. But ultimately, I think that it's good to get mentorship or to get ideas from other people and to have a broader understanding of what you're getting yourself into. Getting into a book project, and one of the main reasons why I'm doing this video, is getting into a book project can become very, very, very expensive, and it can get very, very challenging. And so many people either produce books that are not very good, or worse, they spend all this money and they don't produce a book. Because at least if you produce a book, even if it's not that good, you can at least sell it. But if you produce a book and you don't get it done, then there is no way of getting that message out there. So I'm going to answer a few questions. Some of the questions that are being asked and some of the things that we're looking at here, actually, I'm going to be answering as we move forward. So I'm not going to get into too deep in terms of the answers right now, but I am going to address some of the questions that are here. So um, the thought here says, I've got lots of time on my hands to write, but there's physical challenges. And the one thing that's so amazing about today is that we live in a time of technology. So really, the only way you cannot write a book in today's world is if you cannot think. If your brain shuts down and your brain's no longer able to function, then you can't write a book. But if you can't see, if you can't hear, if you can't understand a particular culture, if you can't understand a particular language, if you lack information, if you're young, if you're old, like no matter what the situation is, all of us can write because of technology. We may not be able to take a pen in our hand and write. We may not be able to type. We may not even be able to, because there's some people they can't read. They can't read, they can't spell, and all those kind of things. So even a person who cannot read, who cannot spell, they can still write a book. I'll even go so far that a person who doesn't have a good command of the native language, my language being English, a person who can't speak English well can still write a phenomenal book because of the way that technology is set up and because of the way that our world is set up today. Our world is set up to have the opportunity to hire people at a very low fee to accomplish anything we can't do. So if I'm not a great writer, then I can get somebody to who is a great writer to edit everything that I do. If I'm not a great if I'm not a person who has a good understanding of English, I can get somebody who knows English very well to look over what I do and put it in a great order. If I can't write at all, I can get somebody. I can speak into my phone, record my message, or I can speak into like any recording device and get it to someone that I can type, and they can actually take my verbal talk and they can type it out for me. If for some reason I can't type and I can't read and I can't talk, I can always use sign language and sign it to somebody who can talk it into uh, a recorded device, or sign to somebody and have them type it out for me. So because of technology, there are a lot of means to be able to solve problems that we have. I think one of the best ways of writing a book today, because before I even get into the major topic, I just want to talk about this one topic. One of the best ways to be able to get a book out is either to talk the book, to dictate it as you record it, or to type a book. And I think most people only think about the second one, typing a book. And in many ways, talking a book is even better than typing a book, because talking a book, most of us who are leaders, or most of us who are influencers, we usually talk. So, for example, we're on YouTube. If a person's on YouTube and they want to write a book, it becomes very easy because all you have to do is just get some of your videos and you can just review some of your videos. And you can take some of your videos and you can just write out what you say from your video, or you can give your video to somebody and they can transcribe it. They can just write it out for you. And either they can put it in order for you or you can put it in order for yourself. So at the end of the day, writing has become much, much, much easier in today's society. So I agree with Georgina. It's very important that we have to conquer our obstacles. There are obstacles in writing, but for every obstacle there is a solution. We're going to talk about a few of the solutions, but I'm just going to get right into the 3 reasons why you should write a book. Reason number 1, you should write a book because there is a book in you. So many people, they have a book that's so clear, like they have a clear understanding of the book that's in them. Some of you who are watching this video, you actually have started writing your book. So you already are in the process of writing your book. So one of the major reasons why you should write a book is because there is a book that's in you. But when I'm talking about a book being in you, there are various levels of how it can be in you. So I talked about almost the finished product of having a book in you is when you know what you want to write and you have that book in you, you have a passion to write it. But there are many others who know they want to write. They don't understand exactly what they want to write, but they know they want to write because there's a passion to write on the inside of them, or there's a passion to produce a book on the inside of them. And that passion that they have to produce a book on the inside, they may not know what the topic is, but they have general interests, they have general skills, they have general abilities, and they know that there's something that's in them that has the means or the opportunity to write. So that's another way of having a book on the inside of you, is that you don't have a clear picture, you probably haven't started writing it, but you do have this desire, you do have this hunger to write something. And generally speaking, you have a clear picture whether it is a fiction book, like a story, and there's various different types of fiction. So you might have a particular type of fiction that's in you. Some people like poetry, but also, if you want to do nonfiction, if you want to write a self-help book, if you want to write a Christian book teaching people a particular principle, if you want to write a book on business or you want to write a book on family, but you generally have an idea on the inside of you what kind of book you want to write. So I think one of the first things that kind of grow in us when it relates to us writing a book is that we have a book on the inside of us. And I think that many people, I think most people in this world have a book on the inside of them. And that simply is that there's something that you desire to teach or something that you desire to pass on to the next generation. And especially if you are a leader in some capacity, you have something on the inside of you that you desire to pass on to the next generation. You desire to give to somebody. So I think that's very important. There are many challenges to that because our mind oftentimes tells us that, I can't write. I'm not very good at English, or I'm not a very good writer. But I'm not so much talking about being a great writer or being a person that's going to be writing a novel. I'm talking about a person that just has something on the inside of them that they want to share. Anything that you want to share with people verbally, you want to talk to people about, you want to teach people about, there's a book in there. And sometimes we close our minds off of books because we have particular ideas from what we learned maybe in school, maybe in high school or college. You learned a particular way of, looking at authors or looking at books. But books can be anything pretty much that you want them to be. It can be a source of learning, or it could be a source of entertainment, or it could just be a source of just sharing culture or sharing ideas. So I think it's very important that we should never get discouraged or get to the place where we desire to write a book, but we stop ourselves because we either don't have a clear picture of what it is, we have difficulty starting, or even worse, we've started, but we're kind of stuck. We have a little bit of writer's block and we want to stop. But I think that it's very important that we write and produce a book if a book is on the inside of us. There's so much more I could talk about when I'm relating to a book being on the inside of you. I just want to share two more points on this particular idea of a book being on the inside of you. If you're a person and you have an audience of people that you serve, if you're a leader and you have an audience of people that you serve, because in today's world, you don't need to sell thousands of books. If you can sell 1,000 books, you've done a great job because you've influenced so many people. There's a statistic that we don't really talk about much, but they say for every one book that's produced, that book travels through 7 hands. So when a person reads it, they pass it maybe to their children, or they pass it to their friend, but it goes through 7 hands before someone discards it. And generally speaking, people don't throw their books away. They go to a thrift store and they put their books in the thrift store, and somebody else goes and picks it up and buys it. So many times a book is read at least 7 times, one book. So if you sell 1,000 books, that's 7,000 people that you actually influence with your word. So I think it's very important that we understand that if we have a group of people that we serve, or a group of people who trust us and follow us, that we have a message that we can pass on to them through a book. So if you have a book in you, one of the indications that you have a book in you is that you have an audience of people that you already serve. Another thing also is that when you have a heart for people, you have a heart to serve people, you have a heart to help people, even if you're isolated and you're by yourself, but there's a group of people that you really, really want to serve, or you really, really want to help. Even though you're not connected with them physically, I think writing a book is an excellent idea because you serve that community and you actually get connected to that community. Because when you write for people, people want to get to know who you are. I wrote a book about worship. So I'm believing as time goes on, I want to get connected with a lot of people who value worship. As a matter of fact, I've already been connected with people who value worship. I went to a church and the church was a worshiping church. Everybody just loved God. They just loved to sing. They just loved to praise God. And they bought a copy of the book. And I didn't know them before, but now I'm connected to that church through the book, which the topic is worship. So even if you don't have an audience, if you have a group of people that you want to serve, think about writing a book for them. And the last thing I want to talk about is just in terms of just having a vision or a dream for your life. Whatever the vision is or whatever the dream is for your life, most times a book can accompany that. And sometimes a book is required for that. So I just want to encourage you that if you have that desire to write a book, start to develop a plan to get it done. And like I said earlier, the plan could be that you're going to sit down and you're going to write out that book and you're going to share that book with people. Or the plan could be you're going to get your tape recorder out and you're going to tape different parts of the book, or maybe a chapter, each week of the book, and then you're going to get it to somebody to transcribe it and to write it out for you and to make it cleaner and clearer. But at the end of the day, I think that one of the reasons why you should write a book is because there's a book in you. I think another reason why you should write a book is because a book can profit you. I kind of talked indirectly about how books can profit you personally, but a book can profit you because, first of all, you sell books. So by selling books, you can actually make some extra money, and you can be able to build up, whether it's your ministry or build up your YouTube channel or build up your business or just build up your family, because books are things that we sell. And because we sell them, it can really help other people while at the same time helping us and moving forward our vision. When it comes to a book profiting you, a book doesn't just profit you as it relates to money. A book profits you as it relates to um, connecting with people, or as it relates to how people view you. When you write a book, not many people write books. So when you write a book, and there's so many people that desire to write, um, they recognize you. I wrote a book 7 years ago, and people recognize me from that book. And people have read the book, and people have been influenced by the book. But at the end of the day, by writing a book, it profits me in terms of connecting with people, and it profits me as it relates to the things that I do. Like, for example, right now we are on YouTube, and I'm sharing this word on YouTube, and the book is helping me also to promote my YouTube channel. We also have a ministry that's called Civil Ministries in Toronto, and the book is helping me to promote the ministry. And the book is helping me to promote my own personal vision, as well as the vision that I feel that God has given to me. So when it comes to books, books are vital as it relates to contributing to your life. They can contribute to your life in so many ways. So many people I've met through my books. I went to Jamaica with my first book, and I connected with a church that was down there. I went to India, and I connected with a church with my book in India. I went to Africa. I went to Kenya, and I went to Uganda, and I connected with people with my book. And I went to the United States, connected with people with my first book. And I'm intending to do the same thing with my second book as well. And the funny thing is, my first book, I love it, and I think it's an excellent book. But my first book was a learning experience, and I learned so much from it for my second book. So a book can help you to be able to produce extra income financially, but also it can help you to produce influence. And that influence can help other aspects of your life. So it's not so much just about the book, it's about the things that surround the book. So my YouTube station has gotten maybe a couple thousand hits, or at least 1,000 hits, if not a couple thousand hits, just based upon the book. So the influence of the book has been able to expand my YouTube. And then when people talk about the YouTube station, they talk about, hey, Neville has a book. So the book helps to promote other things that you're doing. And like I said earlier, also the book helps you to connect with people. And then also, because you write a book, people just automatically feel like you're intelligent, or you're more intelligent than they had thought before. So obviously, I'm not saying that people who write books are more intelligent because they write books. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that what happens is that it's easier to connect with people when you write a book. So, for example, when I'm talking to strangers, like you might be ministering to somebody on the street, or you might just be meeting somebody, introduced from another person to somebody or whatever. When you walk up to a person, people are very guarded. They don't like to meet new people, or they just feel suspicious about people. But what I find is, if I can some way segue in that I'm an author and I can present the book to somebody, what I do is I oftentimes pull that guard down, and people want to ask questions. People want to get to know you a little bit more. And sometimes people will even buy the book. So you get more sales. And in the midst of getting more sales, you're getting better relationships, because people who are strangers with you, strangers to you, sorry, are more open to actually having a conversation with you and getting to know you. So I find that books profit you in many different ways. For me, I think the greatest profit of a book is not so much the money, even though there is money in it. I think the greatest profit of a book is that it helps you to have conversations with people. And especially because for me, most of the books that I write are religious in nature, but especially when books are based upon fundamental topics. I think religion is a fundamental topic, but some people, they don't like it, and some people will have a problem with you if you're talking about religion and they're non-religious. But it still opens up questions, and it still opens up dialogue. But whatever topic you're talking about, especially if you have a passion for it, it will open up doorways for you to meet people who are connected to that topic, or even sometimes against that topic. So what happens is that it opens up the potential more connections, but it also opens up the potential for corrections. So people who may not agree with what you believe, you can actually get to have better conversations with them because they'll look to you to have a conversation for you. Number three, because I talked about the three reasons why you should write a book. Number three is you should write a book because today is the easiest time in history for us to write a book. It's the easiest time in history. Their technology has advanced to such an extent that it's easier to produce a book, and it's cheaper to produce a book, and it's more financially viable to produce a book. When I started with my first book, and even prior to my first book, I saw that that was the standard, is that you had to print 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 books. If you have 10 books, there's most of us would be incapable of housing 50,000 books in our house. So if you have 5 books, you have to wait at least 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years to be able to produce those books because the cost was just way too high. It was just way too high. And the costs have went down now because we have something that's called print on demand. So print on demand is basically, instead of having to print 1,000 books, you can print something, as little as 1 book at a time, and you can sell it that way. Or sometimes what you can do is you can actually get people to buy the book from the printer, and the printer will print the book and send it to the person, and then you get a large proceed of the sale. Sometimes it can be upwards to 50%, and depending on who you're working with. But just wanted to tell you about that. Also, because of technology, you can sell books online. So you can have books in a bookstore and online. And as a matter of fact, today you don't even need them in a bookstore. You can just have them online. You can sell books in different forms. So you can sell a physical book. You can sell an ebook. You can sell audiobooks. As a matter of fact, the book that I wrote, I have an ebook for that book, and I have a physical book. And someone asked me for the audiobook. Like there's a group of people that wanted the book on audio because they don't like reading; they just like listening to books. And I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to work on that because I want to get audiobooks out so those who like to listen to books more can be able to get it. Also, when I'm talking about it's easier to write a book. It's easier to write a book because you can tailor the book yourself. Because back in 2007, people used to go to publishers and they would ask the publisher to publish their book, and the publisher would usually say no. And even if the publisher did say yes, they would give you like 10 cents, 1 cent per book, like almost nothing per book, and they would profit from your work. The one thing that's beautiful about today is that you don't even have to sell a lot of books. If you sell 1,000 books and you sell the books for like $20 each, you're making $20,000 minus expenses. So maybe $15,000 or something that's even more, depending on how you learn to write your book. So it's just very important for us to understand that today is the easiest time ever to write a book. As a matter of fact, the more I see it, the more I'm thinking to myself, why am I not writing more books? I think for my own personal reason why I'm not writing a lot more books is because I'm so busy in life, and I'm finding that I'm not spending enough time marketing the book that I do have. So I kind of just stopped writing books as I market the book that I have and try to get it out to people so they can get to enjoy it. I'm going to answer a few questions, but before I answer a few questions, I just wanted to share with you my 2 books. So this is the first book that I wrote. It's called An Invitation to a New Reality, Life Lessons from Great Women in the Bible. One of the challenges that I have with this book, if you look at this book, I think it's a nice book. But one of the things I didn't like about the book is I think the cover could be better. Cover could be more modern. The cover could be done a little bit better. But then this is my new book. It's called, and the light is not that great. It's called 5 Benefits of Worship, Experiencing the Power of God Through Focus, Praise, and Worship. And the thing about this book is I love the cover. I love the cover. I love the content of both books. But what happens is, as you write books is that you learn. Each book that you write, it gets better and you learn more and you do better at it. But I think that the number one thing you have to do is that you have to get through the first book. And I think if you're going to take books seriously as well, no matter who you are, you have to have an intention in your mind to write more than one book. Because I think most people, they just have, I just write this one big fat book and that will be their contribution to writing for the rest of their life. And especially knowing our culture, because people don't really like to read long books and so forth, it's probably best to have a main idea and kind of break it down. Because when I was originally writing my worship book, I was writing an anthology on worship, everything I knew about worship. And then when I saw that it's like going to be about 400 pages, 500 pages, I thought to myself, is someone really going to sit down and read 500 pages? And yes, there are many people that will, but I thought it might be more beneficial to break it into sections and to just sell it in sections. So this particular book that I have is called The 5 Benefits of Worship. So what's happening here is I'm just talking about the benefits of worship. Whereas I'm probably going to have another book coming out in the future that's going to talk about the importance of worship, or talk about Old Testament and New Testament worship. Just talk about maybe a different subject matter on worship and make it a smaller book. So if a person wants to read a lot on worship, they can pick up both books, or they can just look at the particular topic that they want. And this can be done for many different genres, even for nonfiction, even for stories. You don't have to make a 500-page story. You can kind of break it into segments and maybe have 5 books that are 100 pages each and have different parts of the story and the conclusion in the 5th book. But I just wanted to share that. Before I move on, I'm just going to look at some of the questions that were out here and some of the thoughts. Okay. So we have to make it a priority. So are there deadlines, and can we only rely on our own willpower, or we need some kind of team? I think because everybody's different. Everybody's different. But at the end of the day, I think that it's good to have an understanding of what you're doing. And I think the way you get to understand what you're doing is through conversations, through mentorship, through kind of thinking through what you're doing. And I think deadlines are very important, but I think the most important thing is to figure out what you want to write about. And you can do that in a team, or you can do it by yourself. But then once you think about what you want to write about, you try to find a small part of that. So, for example, I don't think this is what you want to write about, but if you want to write about like how to take care of women's hair, how to take care of women's hair, instead of writing like from A to Z on women's hair, you could talk about the 5 best products, or the 5 best natural products for women's hair today. And you get 5 products and you look at them and you talk about them in detail, and you just put that together and you provide that. So you haven't covered everything about women's hair, but you cover that one little thing, and then you do have a deadline for yourself. You say, like, I'm gonna write maybe 10 pages a day, or if you want to make it more simple, 1 page a day over 3 months or 6 months. And then you put it together, you get it edited, you get it looked at. And now what happens is that in the space of less than a year, you produce a book. Hopefully within 6 to 9 months, you produce a book. And that's a person who struggles with writing. That's a person who doesn't want to write. That's a person who's disinterested in writing. You kind of have like a deadline within a year. A person who's really good at writing or who enjoys writing, you have to sit down and you have to think through the topic and segment it and make it a smaller topic. And then basically write 5, 10 pages a day. And in the space of a month, you have a book. If you have the time. If you don't have the time, then you can kind of space it between 3 months or whatever. And then in the space of 3 months, you have a book. And you have that rough draft, and then you get it edited and you get it worked on. And it kind of works from there. I'm going to get into some really, really, really good details as we come to the end of the video. So for the people who kind of stopped early, they're going to miss the really outright details. I'm just going to tell you how to get your book done. nice and easy. If you're a writer and you don't really care about how people perceive you or whatever, you can actually do a book for free. Like a person today can write a book absolutely free and sell it for say $20 or even more, $50, depending on what you're writing on. Like we're living in a time period where the technology is so great that you can actually write a book for absolutely free. Before I move on, I just wanted to say hello to um, Walking Purpose, Monica Miles. Wonderful having you. We spoke a lot about the three purposes. Also, sorry, the three reasons why you should write a book. And in terms of the video, you can kind of review that part. But there are some very significant reasons why we should write a book. And I think one of the greatest reasons why we should write a book is that it actually helps us to pass on a legacy to the people who are here right now and people who are in the future. I would imagine what it'd be like, because having a parent who wrote a book or having a parent who, wrote a number of books and passed that legacy on to onto me. Like it's not even work that I did, it's work that they did, and now you have that legacy and you can now utilize it. So as you're writing, you're creating a legacy for those who are connected to you. But I want to get back to Georgina's question. She was just saying around deadlines. I think deadlines are important, but I think the biggest error that we make is it's not so much about the deadline, it's about the subject matter. And I'd even add it's also about who you're writing it for. Like I talked earlier about if you're writing a book on hair, that you know you got to break the subject matter down to say maybe the best hair products. But then if you're going to write about the best hair products, you have to know that there's an audience out there that doesn't really know which one to choose and they're looking for help. So now you're providing a service to people, because when the book provides a service to people, then people are going to want to read it. When the book addresses something that people want to learn about, then it will help you. So, for example, I wrote this book about worship, and I was a little reluctant to writing it until I realized that almost every Christian book that's out there on worship is for worship leaders, is for worship bands, but there's no book out there, or there's not many books out there that are about, how do you worship as a Christian? How do you create a lifestyle of worship as a Christian? And not only that, for people who are proficient in worshiping, who understand worship, who understand the word and understand how to connect with God, there's no book to encourage them to grow in that area. There's no community to encourage us to get better at worship. And I'm not talking about get better at worship in terms of standing in front of people and you're leading them. I'm talking about getting better at worship in terms of your own personal connection with God, and understanding that worship is a spiritual discipline. Worship is a spiritual skill that God has given all of us. And just like, writing is a skill, and the more you write, you get better at it. Worship is a skill, and the more you worship, you get better at it. You connect with God, you get a clear understanding. But the reason why I'm saying that, I wrote this book because I understood that there was a need and there was an audience. Because everyone who goes to church, who loves God, should want to have a powerful worship experience. So this book teaches how to engage with God through worship. And I think whatever book you write, because you have to write according to the passion that God puts on the inside of you, or the passion that you just personally have been walking with day in and day out, you have to allow that passion to be explored and then to be managed. And then you have to extend that passion onto other people and say, is this helping people? Is this something that people will be interested in? Is this something that's going to bless people? So I think it's very, very important when it comes to writing a book, is deadlines are important and teams are important, but the most important thing is to have something that you're passionate about. And most people who write do have that. But I think where the problem comes in is they have too much of it. So now you have to look at the big thing that you love. Like for me, I love worship, but there's Old Testament worship, there's New Testament worship, there's women at the well, there's what do you call it? There's Jehoshaphat. There's so much. There's a temple. There's a tabernacle. There's an altar. There's so many things going on with worship that if you try to do it all, it's just going to take you years and years and years, and then you're never going to get anything done. But you have to take that subject matter and then look at how you can help other people, and then you try to find a small segment, something very, very small. Because all I talked about in this book is the benefits. Like, what are the 5 benefits of worship? And in fairness, there are far more than 5 benefits of worship. There are thousands of benefits of worship. But what I found is that I found 5 powerful benefits of worship that everybody should be acquainted with. But most people, if you have a conversation with them, they have no clue. Because they engage worship as I'm just giving God something, when in fact, a part of worship is God actually working in you as you worship. The Holy Spirit begins to work through you, and the Holy Spirit begins to engage you. And in the Holy Spirit engaging you, it transforms you. So it makes you better. So since it makes you better, then there are benefits that come from worshiping God. So when a person shows up at church, and they're just laying back and they're sleeping and they're bored, if they ever understood the benefits of worship, they would not be sleeping. And I think that you need to have a passion for whatever you're going to write about. And that passion is, how do I inspire people to be passionate about what I'm talking about as well? What is that place that can transform people's life? What is that thing that I have in me that I can teach to people that can help them to become better? I just wanted to cover another question here. It says, I'm a talker and I feel at times I provide too much information. Sometimes I go off topic, worry about perfect flow, may get in the way of focus regarding my story in the book. Well, it makes sense, but that's the big difference between talking and writing. Is talking is like, as I'm talking, I'm thinking and talking, but the thinking and talking are like milliseconds away from each other. So as I'm talking, my mind is thinking. I don't really have time to process it. But the beauty of writing is I have time to process what I'm saying. So if I'm writing something and the information doesn't seem clear, I can pull things out. And then the other beauty of writing is I can give my book or I can give my notes to somebody else and they can process what I'm saying. You can give it to 2 or 3 people and they can all process what I'm saying, and then they can produce a writing that the world will enjoy. They can produce a writing that can inspire the world. So the thing about writing is that writing is a way of speaking where you can actually get help and you can perfect the speech. So I think it's very important that we first of all that we review and we rearrange and we make better the things that we write, but then also that we have other people to review and to make better the things that we write. To have editors, and there's different types of editors, but you have editors that edit for the grammar and the diction. Then you have editors that edit for the content, and then there are some editors who edit as it relates to ideas. They add ideas to what you write. The one thing with the last group of editors is that they can become very expensive, because the first 2 are pretty cheap from my perspective. Having someone to edit your grammar and so forth, you can get somebody for $100, maximum $200 that would edit an actual book for you, for grammar. But when it comes to somebody kind of giving ideas, it's a little more expensive. But where there's a will, there's a way. And there, Georgina says, don't have a wide vocabulary. Well, You don't really need one. See, even vocabulary, there's two sides to vocabulary. One is who are you writing to and what are you writing about? So when it comes to this book on worship, I'm writing to Christians. I'm assuming that many Christians, their highest grade may be grade 12. But what I try to write the book, so if you are in grade maybe 10, 9, you can understand it. So it's probably a grade 9 level reading. So when you're grade 9 level reading, you're not using complicated words. So to me, the ideas in this book are very complicated. The ideas in this book are very powerful, but I don't use like all of these fancy words, Christology and pneumatology. I don't use those kind of words in my books because I want the general public to understand it. So when it comes to diction, if you're writing to people, and you want them to understand, you don't have to use complicated words. So then vocabulary doesn't become a problem. And if you are writing to a group of people, maybe you're writing to university professors or you're writing to people that have PhDs or something like that, or you're writing to like maybe pastors or CEOs, and you want to be a little bit more crisp with the language, you can just get the person that edits your book and say to them, you know what, can you expand the vocabulary? Can you make the vocabulary better? So you should never be locked in and feel I can't write well enough. I can't speak well enough. I'm not smart enough. Because there's always people that are out there that can help you with these situations. And because of technology, they can help you for far, far, far less than maybe in the past. I want to share a few resources with you. And what I love about these kind of videos is I'm putting the best stuff at the last. So if a person's watching and they kind of stop, then they're going to miss this part. But feel free to tell them, if you're talking to somebody and they're watching and say, oh, I just watched the beginning, tell them, hey, get to the ending because we have some very important information at the ending. So I just wanted to share 3 apps with you, or 3, I should probably say, because they are apps, but I should probably say also online resources. I want to share 3 online resources with you. Some of them you may already know. If you don't know them, then these are the huge ones. These are the huge ones. And it's very important for us to be aware of it. So the first resource I want to share with you, the first resource I want to share with you is Kindle Direct Publishing. Kindle Direct Publishing. Kindle Direct Publishing is a publishing service through Amazon. You can actually publish your book through Kindle. So if you understand how to type on a computer, a Word document, you pretty much can publish on Kindle Direct Publishing. The thing that's great about Kindle Direct Publishing is that you can actually upload your book on Amazon, on Kindle Direct Publishing, which is Amazon, for free. It doesn't cost you any money. They don't take any money from you. So you can put your book on Amazon for free. And then what happens once it's on Amazon, you can work it in 2 ways. And I've done both ways. Is you can just point people to Amazon to buy their book from Amazon. And the thing that's beautiful is that you pay no money. Someone goes on Amazon, they buy the book, and then Kindle will send you a portion of the proceeds. It kind of varies and it kind of changes, but to the best of my knowledge, if you sell your book at reasonable price, you can get upwards to like 50 to 70% of the profit. And all you did is just did the work of writing and maybe arranging and getting some people to help you. But at the end of the day, once you put it on the computer, Kindle does all the rest for you and they sell it for you. The one challenge with Kindle that I found is unless you do the marketing and you direct people to go and buy your book, Kindle doesn't really do much for you unless you buy paid advertising from them. And paid advertising is a catch-22 because you pay for it, and if your sales don't meet the payments for the advertising, then it doesn't really work for you. But at the end of the day, because I do have like influences and I know people and so forth, and hopefully you do the same thing. Another option is that you can actually buy some books but you buy the books from the publisher. Like pretty much you pay for the direct. For the print on demand. So the print on demand would probably be from $2 to $5, $2 to $5. It's usually closer to two, depending on the kind of book you have and the size of it. But if you can buy, say, 100 books, and you pay $2, you pay $2 for each of the books. So $200. There is a catch because they charge you shipping and handling. So they're probably going to end up charging you another $200 or $300. So it ends up being about $5 per book. But if you sell the book for $20, you get $15 back. And the prices change because you got to look into it for yourself. But at the end of the day, you can buy some books at a very, very cheap cost and then sell them at the cost that is on Amazon and make money. And it's not so much about making money, but it's about understanding that you don't have to print 1,000 books. You don't have to print 2,000 books. You can print 10 books. You can go and get 10 books. You can go and get 50 books, and you can get them out to your family, your friends, and you actually make a profit, and it hasn't cost you anything. And if you're lucky, more people want more books. You can get more books, but basically it keeps you from being in debt, but it also gives you the opportunity to be creative and to produce the books that you want to produce. So I think it's very important to understand Kindle Direct, and you can look into that. There's a lot of like basically teachings on Kindle Direct, a lot of programs that you can learn about. So you can actually go on Kindle Direct and they have some things that they can teach you about. And maybe in future videos, I can talk a little bit more about Kindle Direct because I really do like this program and it's worked well for me so far. Just wanted to share that with you. So a second app or a second online resource I wanted to share with you. And thank you, welcome to Virtual Church on TV show, is something called Otter voice notes, because I was just hearing from Georgina earlier, just the difficulty of writing, because people have difficulty writing, people have difficulty, with spelling and so forth like that, kind of getting things together. So if you want to find a cheap way to write, and writing is not, the best thing for you, you can go to Otter Voices or Otter Voice Notes. And just put Otter Voice Notes transcribe, and then it'll bring you to their website on Google. And what you can actually do is that you can actually tape yourself, whether it's on video, whether it's on audio, you can tape yourself. And then there's a free program on Otter Voice Notes that you can use, and you can actually transcribe what you said. So I can take this video that we're talking in today, if I wanted to write a book about it, and I can just take out the part of the video, that talks about the 3 reasons why you should write a book. And I can just put it on Otter Voices, and it will write out everything that I say. And the funny thing about it, then because I do YouTube, I can take this write out and I can put it in on YouTube for my closed caption. But I can also take the write out and I can put it into a book. I can take the write out, I can put it into a blog. I can take the write out and I can put it into just any written material that I want to put it in. So Otter Voice Notes is an excellent app that you can use that can help you to write. So anybody who comes on this video and says, I'm not a good writer, I don't write very well, they can actually go to Otter Voice Notes and they can just put in their recording and get everything written out. So you can do that. I think there is a limit with Otter Voice Notes per month, but it's a pretty high limit. But you can just do that, up to your limit each month until you get your book written, or you can just pay a little bit of a fee. And I think that you can just get pretty much unlimited time on Otter Voice Notes, or enough time that you can actually transcribe a book, maybe in a week or 2. So I think it's an excellent resource. It's one of the best transcription note takers I've ever seen. I probably should have gotten an affiliate link for this, but I haven't done that. So you can feel free to check it out on your own. Hopefully in the future, I can do a few more videos on this and talk a little bit more about Otter Voice Notes, because I really like this program. I've used it and I think it's amazing. The last app I want to talk to you about is an app that pretty much, once you know this app, anybody can write a book. This app has everything that you need, And if you're wise about if you're wise about using it, you can produce a book well under $1,000. Someone might say, that sounds kind of high. $1,000? That sounds kind of high. Most people who produce books, especially if they go like join a program or they go to a publisher, self-publishing agency or whatever, most people are spending about $10,000 just for the production of the book. After they spend $10,000 for the production of the book, then they have to spend like maybe another $10,000 for the promotion of the book. A lot of programs say $50,000 is a good price to spend on producing your book. I produced this beautiful book, and the information in there is great as well. And it's not $5,000. As a matter of fact, I spent well under $1,000 on producing the book. But the thing that helped me to produce the book was this particular program. I just want to share this program with you. Virtual Church TV show. Welcome to the Virtual Church TV show. It's called Fiverr. Many of you may have heard of Fiverr, but if you haven't heard of Fiverr, Fiverr is a place where you can get assistance on a number of different projects. Like pretty much any project you can think of that you want to do, just in life. Like I'm doing a video right now. I can get someone from Fiverr to, videotape me, or at least edit this video and make it look a little bit different. I sing songs, do a lot of music. You can get someone from Fiverr to produce your music and to create a CD for you. But one of the things that Fiverr does the best is to produce books. So Fiverr is an amazing app when it comes to books. There are a number of things that you need to do in a book. And everybody has different abilities and different skills. So my skill is writing. I really enjoy writing. So because I enjoy writing, I don't really need Fiverr to write for me. So I do all my writing myself. So any of the books that you read that I do, I pretty much do all the writing. The whole idea behind the book is myself. And even the general framework of the book, it's me, because that's my skill. But there's some people they're not very good writers. So you can actually hire somebody from Fiverr. I mean, literally, you can say, I want my book to be about faith as a mother or whatever. And you outline chapter 1, the challenges of having faith as a mother. Chapter 2, the expectation of the father. Chapter 3, just kind of outline all the chapters. You give it to somebody on Fiverr and you put whatever information that you feel that you can put in there. And somebody takes that information and they create the whole book for you and they give it to you. So you can actually, that's one option. I don't think it's a good option because that's going to cost you a lot of money. That's going to be way over the $1,000, under the $1,000 that I said. So if you do something like that, it's going to cost you, I don't know, maybe $600, $700, $800 just for them to write the book for you in that fashion. So even that's not bad, because I said earlier that if you go to a publishing agency, they're going to charge you $10,000 to $50,000 just to write a book. So if you can get someone to write the book for you, like you give them the ideas, but they write the book for you for $800, or less if you have a smaller book, that's not bad. You have a book that you pay for $800 and it's good, well written, it's clean, that's not bad. But to me, I don't use Fiverr that way. The way that I use Fiverr is I use Fiverr because I'm a writer. I use Fiverr to help me in different areas. So I'm going to share pretty much 3 areas. And there's much more than the 3. Like anything you can think of in a book. Like if you're doing a book and you're stuck, Fiverr has the answer. If you're doing a book and you don't know what to do next, Fiverr has the answer. So when it comes to writing a book, Fiverr can be very, very helpful to you. And I just wanted to share 3 things that you can use Fiverr for that will help you. I'll talk firstly about the first thing. This book cover, it's all right, but I don't fully like it. And the reason why that is, I made this book cover myself, right? Someone said, "Oh, it looks great." But to me, it's all right. And I think that the information in there is great. And if you love a copy, we'd love to get you a copy. But I don't like the cover because I did it myself. But on Fiverr, I hired an expert to actually do this cover. And it looks much cleaner. It looks much nicer. If you can see it face to face, it's even better. I had a little beautiful picture of a handsome man down there. But basically, Fiverr made this beautiful cover for me, and every cover that they make for me is amazing. If you're doing an ebook, they do ebook covers for you. If you're doing an audiobook, they do audiobook covers for you. And ebook covers are like extremely cheap. If you're doing an ebook on Fiverr, it's beautiful because you can get a ebook cover for like $5. Doing this kind of cover, it's a little bit more expensive because you're looking at, say, and even though I'm saying expensive, not that bad because you're looking at, say, between $50 to $100 for a cover like this. $50 to $100 for a cover like this, and you can even get higher. You can pay like upwards to $100 to $1,000 for a cover, and they will look exactly, literally like the ones that you see in bookstores. For me, I think that there's not much difference between the cover that I have here and, like, say, a cover that costs $1,000. There's a slight difference, but there's not much difference. So if I'm starting and I'm starting to write a book, I would not spend thousands of dollars on a cover. I would just get something $50 to $100 for the cover. I think the second thing that you have to do as well is it's good to get somebody to edit your book. If you have a friend or you have somebody to go through your book, I think that'd be great. But Fiverr also has people that you can hire to edit your book. My learning process that I've learned just dealing with Fiverr is it's good to probably let someone from Fiverr edit your book first. Like you edit it first yourself, then you get someone from Fiverr to edit your book, and then you give it to maybe a friend. Because once in a while, I think the Fiverr editors are pretty good, but once in a while they miss some things, and it's kind of hard after you read it through to go read it through again. So I think that it's good to maybe get it to a friend, and then when your friend kind of catches one or two things, then you might read it yourself again, and then you have your final edit and you're done. What some people even do after that is that they hire somebody else from Fiverr and get a second edit. Now, for them to edit a book, that's about 100 pages. It ranges from, say, $100 to $200. So if you edit it once, it's just $100. If you edit it twice, it could be maybe $200. But I highly recommend if you edit it twice to get somebody else. Don't let the same person edit your book twice. But I think that's very, very helpful. And then the other thing too, it's not a major issue, but you need to have somebody to design. I don't have a major design in my book. It's like very simple, but you need to have somebody to design the interior of your book. You may try to design it yourself. Like this book interior I designed myself. And to be honest, it looks pretty good. I'm not going to be doing anybody's interior design. I don't really spend time doing that kind of stuff, but my interior design not too bad. But for this book here, I actually hired somebody to do interior design, and even though it's very simple, it can be a little bit costly. So about $100, about $100, sometimes $200 to do the interior of your book. But I think that that's essential because you don't want the inside of your book to look bad. So from Fiverr, you can hire someone to do your cover. You can hire somebody to do the editing, and you can hire somebody to do the interior design of your book. And all those things cost money because the cover is about close to $100. The interior of your book is about $150. The editing is about $150. So you look at $400 from Fiverr. All these things, you can skip. You can actually do all that stuff for yourself for free. So you can edit it yourself. You can do the interior design yourself, and you can do the cover yourself. If there was one thing that I highly recommend that you get Fiverr to do for you, is the cover. because I think you can get away with interior design because if you have a good eye, interior design is easy because in some ways I almost like my interior design better than what the person from Fiverr did for me. But if you're gonna not spend money, make certain that it's not the cover. I think it's very important that you do hire somebody to do the cover. Fiverr is a great place. There's other places too, but Fiverr is a good place. And I just encourage you to do that because when your book cover looks good, people want your book. So even with Fiverr, what I like about Fiverr is that some artists they give you several different covers to choose from. But if someone gives you a cover, whether it's several or just one, and you just don't like it, you can reject it and say, "I don't want it. Make me something else." So that's what I like about Fiverr. And working with the people on there, I've had really good experiences. In honesty, the people I've had the most difficulty with have been editors. Like working with editors can be a little bit tough because not all editors are created equal. Not all editors are as good as they should be. But at the same time, I found everybody that I work with on Fiverr has been reasonable, and I've gotten a good, bang for my buck. This is a video that's been kind of pretty deep. If you want to ask any more simple questions, you can always let me know. But if I actually price out what I talked to you about from Fiverr, or just as it relates to a book, you have to write your book, you have to edit your book, you have to get a cover for your book, and you have to do the interior design of your book. And that's pretty much all you have to do to be able to upload your book on what I called earlier KDP. So pretty much that's all you got to do for your book. So if you're looking at it from the more economic perspective, you can get a cover for $100, and even $100 is a little bit expensive. You can get it cheaper. So let me go the cheapest route of a book that would look decent. You can get a good cover for like $40-50. Let's just say 50. You can do the interior design of your book for about $150. And you can do the editing of your book for $150. So that's $300, $400. And if you want to throw in some other things, like maybe $500, $600. Like really, you can produce a nice book, a beautiful book for about $500. And someone said, that sounds expensive. But here's the catch. You can produce that for $500, then you can put it on KDP for free. And then all you have to do is sell, my math is not going so good right now. If you're selling a book for $20 and you have 20 books, 30 books, that would be $600. So you just have to sell 30 books to cover your costs. And if you can't sell 30 books, then you probably should build like a network or build a group of people that you know. And then after building like a network, you should be able to gather at least 30 different names or 30 different people that you know to be able to buy your book and continue to build connections and build an email list so you can kind of connect with people and know them. Because at the end of the day, then you'll be able to have your book online and promote your book through your YouTube, if you have YouTube, through your personal relationships, through friendship networks, through business. And it all depends on what you're writing, because I find some things are a little bit easier. Like if you're writing books like on worship, like how I am, you connect with churches. If you're writing books on, women's hair, you connect to women, maybe even hairdressing salons or whatever. If you're writing books about business success, you write to people that are in that sector, or you write to particular businesses, and you work with them. But at the end of the day, writing a book, I think, is essential, because like what other investment in the world could you make $500 and have perpetual income moving into the future? And a matter of fact, even the $500 is for a person who is not very skillful in the areas of book design. So if you're a person, you have a really good eye and you can create covers, or if you're a person and you have a really good eye and you could create the interior of a book, or you can create, or you're very good at editing, you could forego those things and actually create a book for free. I'm not 100% for that. I think the only time you create a book for free is when you're really, really highly skilled and you don't have any money. If you're struggling financially and you just need to, create, then I say create a book and don't invest in Fiverr or Otter or any other services. Just put it on KDP for free, and I think that book can produce something for you, because I have books that I've done that are far cheaper. I did a book. It's a very simple book, but I did a book where it cost me very, very minimal, like almost nothing, and I've sold quite a few of those books, and it's far less than than this book, and it's far less than the $500 I just talked to you about. So you don't have to spend a lot of money, and I guess another way of getting around maybe Fiverr is that there are other programs that are out there, or there's other resources that are out there. I think one is called Author Lab Pro, and there's other programs like that. So you don't have to do Author Lab Pro, but if you go and check out Author Lab Pro, you can actually purchase their program, I think, for like under $100, and Author Lab Pro will actually give you covers, but it only gives you ebook covers. It only gives you the front cover. So you're gonna have to figure out through other means of how to put the back cover on. But it will give you front cover. It will give you interior design, and it will give you a lot of other resources that will help you with your book. And I've used Author Lab Pro, and I really like them. Another resource you can use that's absolutely free, that's fairly decent. Like I think you can create a better cover with this other program I'm going to share you about. It's called Canva. If you go on Canva, you can actually create a better cover than what I have here. Canva is pretty good. Canva is pretty good. And I know some of you are probably thinking, well, there's nothing wrong with that cover. And in fairness, I don't think there's any major issue with it, but you can tell that it's not like a bookstore book. You can tell that it's not like a professional book per se, but it's decent. And I've sold a lot of these. This book is the book that I've sold the most so far. Sold over 1,000 of them, and I'm still selling them. So if you're in the Toronto area, would love to meet with you, love to talk with you a little bit more about books. If you're not in the Toronto area and you just want to converse over email, you can just visit our website, nevillesolomon.com, and maybe send us an email and tell us some of your thoughts, or you can just write in the comment section and let me know if you have any thoughts or any questions. This has been a somewhat high level conversation on books and creating your own books. One of the reasons why I made this video is because a lot of people, they ask me questions around books because they want to write a book themselves, and I've been answering questions here and there. So I said, let me just make a video, so if anybody asks me, I can just point them first to this video and they can just watch it, kind of get some ideas, and then they can ask me some more in-depth questions. Because the one thing I love about writing books is that it's not a static idea. And what I mean by a static idea is every time you write a book, you learn more and you grow more and your concepts grow more. And it's good to have conversations because there's so many things that stop people. Like for example, the big thing I see when it comes to writing books where people really, really get halted is they try to get all this training of how to write. And they spend all this money on how to write. And there's so many programs that are out there. Just look for programs where you want to write a book. And some of the things that they talk about is how to write a book. And you spend so much money on how to write a book when the most important part about a book is just communicating what you know to help people. If you have a book that helps people, even if the grammar is not that good, people will enjoy it. The secondary thing is how to connect with people. If you have a book that helps people and you know how to connect with people, then you have a best-selling book. You have a book that's very, very, very effective. As opposed to what a lot of people teach. A lot of people try to teach people how to write. They try to kind of work on people's fears. But I just wanted to make this video to tell you that it's not a scary thing. Just write your passion, write what you know, write what you love, but also think about how it impacts and helps people. And then just get out there and produce it and then sell it. And or if you are fortunate, because I did let you know that this is pretty cheap, is you can actually give books away. I know a lot of people don't think like that, but like within the church community, for example, we give so many things away. We give food away, we give our time away, we give counseling away, we give so many things away that it'd be easy that you spend $500 on a book and you can just give it away and help people. But it has to be something that is significant to a person, something that will help a person. So I don't see much questions or much thoughts. So we're kind of coming to a conclusion. But the one thing I did want to share before I ended was that I think writing a book is very essential. I talked about 3 reasons why you should write a book. Number 1 reason is that you have a passion to write and you have a book on the inside of you. So you got to let that book out. Number 2 is that a book will profit you personally. It will profit you financially because you sell the book, but it will profit other things that you're involved in, like this YouTube station and whatever you like. If you have YouTube or you have Facebook or you have some kind of social media and you promote your book, while you're promoting your book, you're actually promoting your channel or you're promoting your social media. So you garner more connections with people because you have a book. And a lot of time you don't think about it that way, but it helps you to connect with people. And then lastly, the reason why you write a book is that when you have a book, you're able to really encourage and strengthen people. And you're able to do it in a much better fashion today because it's easier to write a book today than any time in history because of technology. Technology is the big number 3 because technology makes writing a book affordable, it makes writing a book easy, and it makes creating a printed book very, very simple. I spoke primarily about printed books, but printed books are the most expensive out of the different types of books that you can create because, like I said earlier, you can create an ebook, and an ebook can cost you essentially, it will cost you the editing because you still have to edit it, and it will cost you the interior design. But the thing that's beautiful is that you can do all that for your physical book, and then you can copy it in your ebook. So essentially, you're creating an ebook for free, or you can split the cost between the two. But essentially, you can take your physical book and also make an ebook. And then because you have the literature and you have everything edited and put in place, you now can either do an audiobook yourself, where you kind of talk through it, record it, and then you go through the stipulations of Audible, which is also a program from Amazon, or you can use other services because there's other online audiobook platforms. But if you want to use Audible, you just have to follow their process, or better yet, you can just hire somebody to do the audiobook for you, and someone can just read the transcript and read it for you. And that would cost maybe $200. It could be more expensive depending on the size of your book. But once you have that audiobook, there are so many people that love audiobooks. And the thing that's good about Audible is there's so many people that are members of Audible. So because they're members of Audible, they can receive your book for free. But when they listen to your book, you can be paid for your book. So they can listen for free and you can get paid by it. Kindle ebooks are similar as well, but I find that there's much less people who are subscribed to Kindle. At least within my genre. I have a lot of people on Audible, but at least within my genre, people that are part of Kindle. But even then, someone who has Kindle is just basically you have a reading program where you can read as many books as you want because you pay a monthly fee, and you can read as many books as you want. And when you read that book, a person can be paid from it. So with my own book, I've actually had a few people, not a lot, but I've had a few people read my book through the Kindle program, and I've gotten paid for that. And for myself, I'm not so motivated by the financial part of it, but I am motivated by the power of it. Like when you walk into a room and people perceive you as an author, when you're preaching, they listen to your preach. Because I preach and I teach, they listen to it a little bit differently. They have more of an interest in what you're talking about, because people have this idea and this philosophy about authors. So I think that if you have a book in you, get it out of you, because it will only create good things for you, especially if you're sharing something that is from your passion and you're sharing something from a heart of love. Because people will be excited and people will support you in what you're doing. And even if, because a lot of authors that I work with and I talk with, a lot of them don't feel happy and they don't feel supported, but I think they're looking at it from the wrong perspective. You see, if I go to the bank and I put $500 in the bank, the only return I'm going to get if I'm at a really, really good bank that doesn't have bank fees and whatever is a 3% or 2% or 1% interest. So at the end of the year, I'm getting pretty much a little bit over $500 back. But when I get a book, even in the worst case scenario, where let's say nobody buys your book, so long as you listen to what I'm saying about Fiverr, and you get your book professionally done, even if nobody buys my book, every time I hold it up, every time I hold it in my hand, every time I talk about it, it has an effect on people. This is my last story. I went out for breakfast yesterday because I just wanted to study. So this is going to seem a little strange, but I decided I wanted to study worship. So I was studying my own book. So I opened it up and I was taking some notes. You can even see it in there. I'm taking some notes in my own book and I'm reading it. And as I'm reading and I'm studying this on worship, the waitress comes over to me and says, "My goodness, you have an amazing book. I'm going to check that out on Amazon." It's my book. And what I realize is that is effective, because the same waitress, if I went up to her and I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, I want to talk to you about Jesus. Do you want to worship him?" I may get a good reaction. I may get a bad reaction. But when you have a book, it causes people to react just to the book. So if you have it in you, why not get it out of you? And in fairness, because I want to share the whole truth with you, producing a book, especially the first time, because it's a learning experience, it can be hard, it can be difficult, it can be challenging. But I think most of the hard, difficult challenge comes from not having proper mentorship or not having proper conversations or not thinking it through, because we make things harder than they need to be. So if you want to make it simple, what do I know? Okay, this is what I know. What do I want to write about? This is what I want to write about. Instead of writing the whole thing, write 1% and focus on that 1%, that one particular thing. Just focus on it. Spend a couple weeks on it, get it edited, put it together, put it in a book, and start promoting it. But make certain that that thing is something that will minister to people. And when I mean minister to people, I'm saying something that will help people. So if it's about your own personal business, like for example, if you're an insurance broker, don't write a book, "Buy insurance from me." Like nobody wants to hear that book, you know what I mean? But if you write a book on, what do you call it? Maybe about your own personal experience. You write a book about, growing up back home and the challenges back home and how back home was a little bit different than, say, where you're living now. And then you talk about the benefits of where you're living now and some of the things you like that the government does where you currently live, and how insurance works in this world, this new world that you're in, and how it benefits people and how it benefited you. And then you continue to talk the story about your life or whatever. And then when you're selling the book, you talk about your life, Or do you let people know this is how insurance has helped my life? And then people say, I want to hear your story, or tell me more about your insurance. But what happened is that you don't want to write a book that doesn't help people. You want to write a book that helps people, but you also want to write a book of something that you're knowledgeable in. So I've shared quite a bit this evening. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear from you. I think the number one thought I'd love to hear from you, if you are thinking of writing a book, what would that book be about? And if you are writing a book, what is that book about? Because we want to know what your passion is. I want to know how you're going to share that passion with people. So we're coming to a close. And I thank everyone who has been a part of this discussion. And I'm happy that we've been able to talk about it. And I'm praying that this particular video will be a blessing to you. If you want to hear more about this or some of these subject matters, let me know. If there's a subject matter that you are interested in that we've talked about in the past, let me know as well. Or if there's something that's new that you want to share, I'd love to hear from you. But I want you to seriously consider if you should write a book. And if you're going to do that, don't make it hard on yourself. Don't create in your mind, I have to write this big book, and it's going to take me 2 or 3 years. If it takes you 2 or 3 years, I think it's the wrong book that you're writing. Try to think more of a book that you can write in 2 or 3 weeks. Because even when you say 2 or 3 weeks, it'll probably take you maybe 2 or 3 months. But 2 or 3 weeks is a better place of thinking, because you want it to be simple, you want it to be concise, and you want it to be able to help people. So if you've enjoyed this video, one of the ways that you can support our channel is to visit us at nevillesolomon.com. Check out our website and just communicate with us through that. We'd love to hear from you. And also, please keep watching our videos. After you watch this video, feel free to leave a comment or watch some of our other videos. Well, anyways, God bless you, and it's great connecting with you, and I hope and pray that you have a great evening. God bless.
This is how I fight my battles. 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 It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. This is how I fight my battles. 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 It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. Nothing is as strong as your blood. Nothing is as strong as your love. Nothing is as strong as your blood. Nothing is as strong as your love. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battle. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. Nothing is as strong as your blood. Nothing is as strong as your love. This is how I fight my battles. 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 It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm
Have you ever asked yourself the question, what is worship? Or, what does true worship mean? Well, now you can find the answer in this easy-to-read and engaging book titled 5 Benefits of Worship: Experiencing the Power of God Through Focused Praise and Worship. In this book, the author defines what it means to worship God and points you to what true worship looks like. Moreover, authentic Christian worship happens when you focus on God and give Him all the praise. It is through this life-transforming encounter with the greatness of God that people's lives are changed forever. As you, the worshiper, place your trust in the Lord, God responds to you by meeting your deepest needs. Worship is both a personal and public activity that allows you to connect with God. Worship is the point where mortality meets immortality. The mortal transcends from this natural realm into the supernatural realm of God, through which God's glory and power is brought down into the lives of men, which oftentimes invokes the Holy Spirit, manifesting in healings, testimonies, and miracles. This book is focused on worship within the context of praising God in your home and your local church. Despite many churches turning to online methods such as Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom to conduct weekly services, this book was designed to inspire you to connect with God, no matter what situation you find yourself in. The sophisticated yet simple insights contained in this book will help you to grow spiritually. Neville Solomon will take you into dimensions of worship, beyond the peripheral knowledge of an average Christian, and will challenge you to engage in focused and love-filled worship towards your Creator. This work reviews the 5 major benefits of worship. Namely, 1. Worship as a fragrance. 2. Worship as a teacher. 3. Worship as a weapon. 4. Worship as a medicine. 5. And worship as a family business. I would admonish every Christian wanting to draw closer to God through worship to read and practice the principles of this book. Whether you are a passionate worshiper, a new believer, a pastor, or someone simply seeking to grow in your personal relationship with God, this book is packed with a philosophy that can shoot your life to the next level. It will help you to have an encounter of the revelation and transformation received at the spiritual altar of focused worship.